Hi everyone, my name is Tom. I'm one of the composers at Hunchback Music, and in today's video I will break down the music of the release trailer for Deliver Us Mars. And before we dive into things, let's watch the trailer once and then I'll break it down for you.
Peggy 12.
One man, one choice. It affected everyone.
Coming, Rupert! No! I'm sorry.
Plenty of well-intentioned people have caused so much destruction. You have so much potential to help so many people.
We need to bring the Arks back home to save Earth.
Go.
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 What your dad and the Lunar Council did, they left us here to rot. We are in loss of control.
There's nothing like this on Earth.
I'm going to Outward. I'm going to find my father.
You hold the fate of everyone.
I'm gonna find another way up there now. Something's missing. Doesn't make any sense.
Was there ever a plan to save Earth? We can be better.
So that's it, and before we dive into the different sections and different instruments and production techniques I use, let's first look at the structure of this trailer. So the opening is kind of setting the scene, already putting in some tension, so that's already quite tense in the music as well. Then we have a bit more of a quieter, emotional part. Then we build up when we see the rocket for the first time. And then we have two climaxes where things are starting to happen. And we have this last big climax in the ending. And after that, we have the little outro where we have the logo reveal. And because there was a lot of sound design and everything going on in the trailer itself, I'll just play you just the music right now once before I dive into the different sections. There you have it. So in this opening in the trailer, we see that it is a section where we already have some action going on. A lot of questions are being asked and it's already quite tense. So to support this tension, I chose to use a mixture of different synth pads. And let's just solo those out for you. So they're a mixture of different synthesizers and sound effects that create this tension together. And as the tension is building, things are slowly being added to this whole tense section. So here we go to the climax. Okay, I'm going to do the last part again. And while we are building towards the climax of this section, I'm slowly adding more and more things, some more sound design and some percussion as well. then the percussion really gives us this big ending that we need when we have the cut to black. And to bring all of this together, there is one low string note in the cellos and double basses. Now, in this next section, things get, I call it a little bit more emotional. We get introduced to the main character and have the first small story beats that are being introduced. So I actually call this a little bit of an emotional section. And to create this emotion, what I'm using mainly is a piano supported by some strings and some soft string textures. So if I would just highlight the piano in itself, it's just very simple chords, but keep this piano in mind as it will come back later and it will also develop in its sound throughout this track. But it starts right here. So it's very simple, but still very wide, keeping it very emotional. Like I said, supporting this are just very simple, calm string textures and some supporting string lines. And then on top of that, there's just some very light synthesizer pads to also keep the electronic feel throughout this track alive. And then we end up here. Now, after this transition, we reach this build-up. In the trailer, we see the rocket here for the first time, so things are starting to get more intense, and you will also hear that in the music. I incorporated some elements that make it more rhythmical, make it more tense, but I still try to keep this emotion in there in a way. So this piano that I just mentioned is still here, but now it's a bit louder, and the part itself is also a bit more elaborate. We still have strings supporting this piano part now, but they are no longer emotional. They are now just playing short notes to keep the tension going forward. And together with that is a percussion technique with kind of short stick sounds. And they are used to emulate clocks in a way. And this is a technique you see in a lot more trailer music where you have this very static high clicking sound, driving the tension forward and having this steady pulse in the background. It's not too much, not too in your face, but it kind of gives this uneasing feel of there is more about to happen and we're building towards something bigger. So it's not too much yet. We're slowly building up to where the real action starts, which is at the next section. And one final layer of pulsing that is also happening underneath this is just with a very simple bass pulse. And all these layers together turn out to sound like this. So it's very simple elements, very few elements, but together they do create this slow layer of tension. The piano keeps it emotional, and you also have to imagine in this section there's a lot of sound design going on as well. So I don't want to interfere too much with all the sound design, but together sound design and music create this feeling of anticipation. We're going somewhere, we're going to outer space. And when we are in the rocket and stuff hits the fan, that's when we reach the next section. First, finish the development that this piano is going through. So the first one was very small, very emotional. Second one, it got even bigger. And now we're in outer space. And I kind of wanted to keep the piano there, but make it even more sci-fi or spacious in a way. So I dropped the regular piano and I chose to do it in a, I call it synth keys. It's like a more of a keyboard or a synthesized piano. So it has the same idea as the piano part we heard earlier, but now it's evolving with the track and with the music and also with the narrative in the trailer itself. Something similar that I'm doing, because this section I still wanted to keep this emotion there that we have in the in the opening. And in a way, how I did that was also by using vocals. But for vocals, I used a similar thing, that it's not just a regular choir that is singing or a regular singer that's very natural, but it's more of a vocal synth patch, that we have the same thing that we have in the piano. It's like reminiscing us of something that we know and that is from Earth in a way, but it's twisted in such a way that's more outer spacey, but still keeping it emotional. That's this vocal synth patch. Now, what this piano and this vocal, they are not the main element here. I wanted this big, bold, cinematic string arrangement for this section. So the notes of the vocals and the keyboard are actually supporting a melody that I put in a full string section. And how I did arrange the entire string section, I'm explaining in another video, but here you'll notice the end result. And now when I play these together with the vocal and the synth keys, you'll notice that keys and the vocals are actually supporting the string melody. The strings are the main, and you'll notice the vocal is coming in and out, while the keys are mostly adding accents to what is already there in the strings. So these vocals, strings, and keys together, they add an emotional layer to this climax, but they still keep it kind of spacey, kind of distorted, kind of sci-fi in a way. And you can't have a really good trailer. Well, you can, but one thing I will always love to use as well is these big, bold, low chords, which are here in synth bass with some sound design, as well as full brass. So let me just play those together. And this really is the low end that's carrying this whole section. And if I play the full mix now together, you'll notice that the low Brahms, that they are kind of alternating with the melody in a way. So you would have the low stuff and then the vocals come in. So I tried to arrange it in such a way that we have like bold impact alternated with emotional melody, and at some point that they start intertwining together. And all of this is, of course, supported by very big, very heavy percussion. And one final thing that ties this section together is the sound design. So it starts with a downer, this sound that's going boom. Nailed it. And throughout this ending, building towards the climax, we have a riser going on in the background that just adds more and more tension to the whole thing as we reach the climax of the climax. And now we reach the second climax, the climax after the climax, which is basically just one single chord, repeated a couple of times, and it is carried mostly by the brass, supported by strings, accents, and vocals. And for these vocals, I actually have big acoustic choir singing very, very, very loud. And the Brahms that we heard earlier along with the bass, they're basically just all of them going ham on this one chord, repeating it a couple of times. In the background, we have a riser again, so you could see this in a way that in the first climax, we had a bit more time, so I had room to make an emotional statement in the strings, but now we really have to put like the final nail in the coffin of this trailer, to put the final thing on its head. I have no idea how to say this in a better way. So here, instead of intertwining brass with melody and having them alternate, now everything is just playing together, creating these very big, loud, massive chords with a riser on top of them. And then in this last chord, there's even some slight alteration going on. I think it would be clearest if I put it in the strings. So the first 2 chords are the same, and the last one builds up throughout the chord itself. So it's going to one higher note, and something similar in the brass. And that's very high for horns to play, but here in the context of everything, it doesn't really matter. It's very big, and it's very loud. And there, just for this final push, we needed this extra high note. And for this outro, I decided to bring back some of the elements of the emotional section. So the piano is back to normal again, and there's a mixture of synths going on that we already heard in the opening of this track to kind of bring it to a close, make the circle round, as we say in Dutch. So it's just a some very light pads, then some sounds from the introduction again, and together with this, it's just the piano when we see the logo. So that was it. I hope it was insightful. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.
Hey there, I appreciate you watching the video. If you like this one, check out this video or that video. And if you want to support the channel, make sure to click on top of my head on the logo and subscribe to the channel.